So the next item, and I've kind of got two different examples for what I'm going to use here, but we'll start with features for this. So for this, I'm going to click Insert File, and I think the most common instance where you'll use the features panel is when you're dealing with shape files. Or another file type or feature that has a lot of additional attributes in it. So I'm going to bring in this shape file, and there's a lot of polygons in it. We'll zoom out here and see what we're dealing with. So there we are. Now, if I want to select a certain feature, there's all sorts of different ways we can do that. We can just click an individual feature if we want to do it that way. We can right click and go with select by name, by layer, by range, by property, etc. But in this case, if I want to select a series of these features by an attribute, the way I would do that is I'd use our features panel. So in this case, I'm just going to hit Control A, select everything. I'm going to click this icon down here, so this opens our features panel. And oops, let's load up everything in the file there. And we can see a bunch of attributes. Now these attributes are more related to settings at this point, but I can configure what I see. So I'll hit the little settings icon down at the bottom, and I want to see more information for this. So where this information came from a shapefile, it's going to be the bottom collection of data here that I want to look at. And let's bring in a column for our unit description. So there, we've got all kinds of different information here, and we could hit find, select a series of features by a search, or we can just sort these. And let's say we want to look at all our granite sources. So we can just do a multi-select. They're all highlighted over here as you'd expect. And there we've identified those. Just to show what we're dealing with here, let's change the hatching for these. So that's that. Nice way to keep your data organized and yeah, save having to do a bunch of searching around by hand. Now the second part of this topic is the points panel. So this is going to be similar to the features panel. Now the features, we can have information stored for the feature, but a feature is going to be made up of a series of points. So if we want to find an attribute for a single point in a feature, well then we'll go with our points panel. Now for this one, I think the most common point that people will want to search for is their crossing break lines. So I'm just going to model this. And this is more applicable if you're dealing with conventional survey data. So in this case, I got that crossing break line warning. And well, let's click select feature by property. So we're still just selecting our features, and I'm just doing this to narrow in on what we're dealing with. So let's select all the features with crossing break lines. So I can see down here I have two features selected. And I'm going to click the points panel. And there's all the points in those two features. But I can see the crossing break line point attribute. That's just in here, and we can add more point attributes if we'd like. But here I can see, okay, at that point, which we have our little cross indicating what our active point is, between that point and the next point, we have our crossing break line. And same can be said over here. So between this point with the crossing break line property And the next point, I have a crossing break line, and that makes sense because there it is right there. Yeah, so that's the last example was features panel, and this example is the points panel, and they both certainly have their uses.